Men bring romance, women bring sex. How can she be there for him in a way that he is feeling like a guy? And how can he be there in a way where she feels treasured and adored?
I am curious. What's the exercise for a man? Is that the same thing, or is it a different? Is it different because if a woman to call, like to call on things or to receive certain things and do this exercise of what are my wants, what would be the man's to respond to them or to call out some of his um, gifts or whatever it might be? I'm
Well,
curious.
you're going to laugh at this because when I go into organizations, I have lots of corporate clients. Corporate clients that I've had are Hyatt Hotels, Intercontinental, Hard Rock Hotels, Warner Brothers, Avion Water, Dannon Yogurt, Capital One, top executive.
So a few small
Yeah.
companies that you've
But
worked with.
usually I'll go in and do a retreat, an executive retreat, and teach leadership and communication and presentation skills and, how one builds a strong team. And so I'll take maybe 100 executives or 30 executives or the 15 top senior VPs or whatever it is that they want me to work with, and I'll have them for 2 or 3 days. Well, what happens is after those 2 or 3 days, a lot of the senior executives come to me individually and say, can I have you as a coach? What how you think and what you did, and you made it all so amazing. I changed so much. I would like to spend some individual time with you. So we start coaching, and it's always this way. We'll go for a few months and it'll be coaching about the team, coaching about their profession, coaching about their leadership skills. And at some point, whether it's 4, 5, 6 months in, usually if it's a guy, the guy will come to me and will kind of be embarrassed and say, okay, I have something I'd like you to coach me on, but I'm not sure if it's okay. And I go, well, what is it? Knowing I already know what it is because it's happened so many times. And they'll go, I really need help with my wife. I really need help with my husband. I really need help with my children. And so I start talking to them about that particular relationship. And with the guys, I always start with, you're not giving enough affection because a woman wants that. And a guy is kind of like, she wants to hear he loves her, for example. But 3 or 4 or 5 times a day isn't enough for a woman. She forgets one instant after you tell her, and then she needs to hear it again. And a guy goes, well, I told her I loved her last month. Well, I brought her a gift for her anniversary. And so I always have the guys, I go, okay, in the middle of a meeting, I want you to call your lady and tell her that you just had to tell her this, that you were thinking of her, and oh my God, you were thinking of her inner thigh. And, it made you so hot and horny that you had to call and tell her that you loved her. Now, what really happens is they actually do this. And pretty soon the women come to me at the different, organizational parties and they say, thank you. Well, dude, but he's changed so much and it's so amazing, and the guys come back and they say, she was a little suspicious. Like, how come I'm doing this? But I say, okay, well, just keep doing it. Just keep telling her, call her in the middle of the day, tell her that um, because a woman's fear is she's not attractive enough. And so when you're off to work all day, it seems like work is more attractive to you than her. Do you see? So you got to understand the motivation and the fears, whereas a woman is afraid, or a man is afraid he can't do it. So a woman, don't give him a job and then take it away from him and do it for him. And always acknowledge whatever you ask him to do. Make sure he knows that you notice he did it. He did it great. He was fantastic. He was amazing. Because then he'll want to do more of that for you and he'll get better at doing the things you want him to do. So it's those little things. So that's what I tell men. I say, find more surprises where you can be romance. Relationships, to me, the perspective I've taken on that I think works better than any other I've thought of is it's a poker table. Men bring romance and women bring sex. Women, stop having headaches. Stop it. A woman can get turned on with just herself saying it's time to get turned on. She doesn't need anything. A guy doesn't turn a woman on, a woman turns herself on with her own intention. That's what women do. So, turn yourself on and get sexy. And a guy, bring romance. Bring her flowers and write her notes and surprise her with presents. Just not on a certain day, you know, any afternoon, all afternoons. Write a poem for her, even if you can't write a poem. Take her for a walk in nature and hold her hand. It's Think of it that way. Men bring romance, women bring sex. How can she be there for him in a way that he is feeling like a guy? And how can he be there in
Mm.
a way where she feels treasured and adored? I hope that helps.
That's going to be the most listened to section. We're going to label that section of how to get laid. That's what we're going to call it, and that's going to be. We're going to cut that one. We're going to clip that one, and we're going to post that all over social. So that's perfect. Marcia, I really love this combo, and I want to make sure we spend some time real quick before we head for the exits. Is the human potential
Oh, yeah.
movement, because this is something that you have done a fantastic job with, and I'd like to just take just if you could plug it, tell us a little bit about it. What does it entail? How just anything that we can know about the human potential movement that's helped inspired hundreds of thousands of people at this point.
Well, the human potential movement was really a time in history too. So in the late 60s and the early 70s, and it was in a place. It really came out of the hippies in San Francisco. I just happened to be in San Francisco during, I saw all the rock concerts and all the greats and all the music. And I, had my floppy leather hat and my guitar and my short skirts and my embroidered shirts. And we were happy and hippies and loved. And it was like that. And there were a lot of courses. It started with, like, some of the early courses were Jose Silva's Mind Control, and then there was Alexander Everett's Mind Dynamics, and then that's what Werner took to be a trainer of Mind Dynamics before he created EST. So I took Mind Dynamics with Werner in San Francisco, where he had that particular area, and then Werner brought in a lot of Dale Carnegie and some Scientology and some leadership kinds of courses, and kind of married it with the Jose Silva and the mind dynamics and all
Mm,
of that. And, a lot of it is all of this human potential technology is thousands and thousands of years old. I mean, go back to
mm,
all the great books, including the Bible, and all of the things that are said in all those great books are pretty much what are taught in the human potential courses. Um, and
mm,
then from there, there was a group of trainers. There was Tony Robbins came down from Jim Rohn when that was his mentor. Jack Canfield, one of my great friends who wrote Chicken Soup from the Book, was an insight trainer, and he worked with John Roger. Werner worked with Alexander Everett. So there were, and then there was also what was the book company? Nightingale and Conant. The people that created Nightingale and Conant, they were great human potential kinds of um, philosophy concepts, Think and Grow Rich. All of those great books. There's some great books out of the 80s that or 1800s that were the Think and Grow Rich books, where that came from, and all of that kind of data, the law of attraction. So in the late 60s, mid 60s, and early 70s, there started being these courses. People started going to courses, and it became a thing. And EST was one of the biggest courses there were. And in the 70s and early 80s,
mm,
just like hundreds of thousands of people took EST, and everybody. That's how I met Jerry Weintraub and Steven Soderbergh and Nancy Pelosi and on and on and on. Um, and princes and governors and scientists and celebrities. It was the thing. And so what's
mm,
happened since then is it's um, it's come into its own in terms of really combining philosophy and combining psychology and combining some of the new sciences and how your brain works and neuro linguistic programming, which is Tony brought that whole thing and made it famous. He didn't create it, but he brought it to the forefront, and lots of different ways where you could be a more effective human being. So it's
Mm.
it's been an exciting ride. I mean, I was there when there was just a few of us, and then suddenly there were tens and tens and tens of thousands. Oh my God.